Hello, plebs. It is time for another intriguing episode of Dead by Discussion, where I talk about all the things Dead by Daylight. Again, no script for this one, no outline or anything, so I don't really know how long it's going to be or what I'm going to have to say. It might just be me talking about games in general after I talk about the specificity of the damn thing. But, I started thinking about Doctor, because Doctor is one of my favorite killers to play as. I think he's incredibly fun. But I think the thing about Doctor that is the most unique, aside from his power and all that shit, we'll talk about it in a minute. But the introduction to this thing is that I think Doctor is really the only killer in the game that I have seen. Well, I guess Plague too, but I don't know. Plague is another killer that this kind of falls under. But Doctor, I think, is the biggest offender of it. I have seen Doctor all over the tier list, which I think is interesting. I've heard, it's a meme. It's a meme in the community now that Doctor's OP. That's what everyone at the lower ranks says. Doctor's OP. Please nerf the Doctor. He's too good. And then you got some people think he's that fucking garbage in the low tier. I don't think he's that bad. I think the majority labels him as a mid tier, which I do as well. But it's interesting because in a game that has 15 killers, soon to be 16 with Ghostface. I think that's the number. I'm kind of crazy. I don't know at the moment. But this killer has been all over the tier list. And there's obviously the thing about Doctor is he's a massive gimmick. He has his detection being good and his chase potential being bad. It's a gimmick. Usually at the lower ranks, tracking is gonna be the thing, because survivors don't really know how to juke yet, so a lot of them tend to prefer stealthier builds and stealthier playstyles because they don't know how to kite and juke. And it's when you're ranked 20 survivor, that's the point where the game's still scary and you're still learning things about it. You don't want to see the killer ever. It's one of those things where obviously when you get to the higher ranks, you know that seeing the killer is just something that happens. It's because the game's not scary anymore once you hit those high ranks, and once you get better at it and you learn mechanics and stuff. It's when it's that feeling of helplessness that makes the game scary, and Doctor's OP because he can just find me so easily. Since survivors don't know how to kite, killers will usually have the edge at those lower ranks, because survivors don't know what they're doing, so they make more mistakes that can in turn get punished easier. I don't know, that's from my experience at least, in terms of the lower ranks. But so that leads to the problem is as Doctor's one of those killers that when you play him at lower ranks, yeah, everyone goes, oh, he's broken, he's OP. But then as you rank up, he's fucking garbage. It's not that he's garbage, it's that he just gets a lot weaker, because the counterplay to him, once people learn the matchup and shit and know how to kite and know how to loop him, it's not that he loses power, it's just that the true nature of his power is revealed as being not OP and not stupid and broken all the people, all the casuals seem to think it is, which I don't know. I don't know if the casual opinion of Doctor has shifted or not, because I'm not a casual, so I don't know. But and so I don't know. So then there's people that do think the Doctor's fucking garbage, and honestly, their arguments usually are that he's really fucking slow, and you can a lot of trapper stuff. His early game's slow, his chases are long because his power requires a lot of skill to effectively use in a chase, or else it can take forever to actually down somebody. Well, all the classic arguments for why Doctor's trash. Tie Time has him in low tier, but there's some big names that think he's fucking garbage. So since he's a killer that's been all over the tier list for whatever reason, I don't know what you do with him. Do you buff Doctor? I don't think you certainly don't nerf him. He doesn't need a nerf. But since some people think he's actually bad, do you nerf him? But like, see that's the confusing thing about Doctor, is like, do you nerf this character or not? Do you buff this character or not? Because since he is such a problem at the low tiers, do you buff him? Because at low tiers, well, I think it's a question of game balance. Who do we balance the game for? Do we balance this game around the casuals, or do we balance it around the people who actually play it, and try to take it seriously, which is unfortunately the smaller player base? Or do you balance this game for the people that go, oh, it's for fun a few times a week, at most, a few times a month even? Is that who we balance the game for? A Doctor is above all killers is the one who raises that question, and I think this can apply to other killers, like Plague is another one. I think could use some buffs, but like some people honestly think she's top tier, and I don't understand why. Like, there was one guy who commented on my tier list and said he thought Plague was top 3. Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't understand that. But like, I feel like killers that can dominate at the lower ranks can get totally bombshelled in higher ranks. And I don't know. That the question we're focusing on is who are we balancing the game around? Because I think Pig is another one that people might think the Pig is broken if they really don't know how to play, and they get down easy, and then the bear traps get on. I feel like Pig is another gimmick character that could destroy people at the lower ranks. Just be like a lot of these gimmick characters, man. You could argue every killer in the game is a gimmick, though, honestly, because there's a lot of you could say Myers is a gimmick, you could say Nurse is a gimmick. You could honestly say every character in the game is a gimmick, but because they're all unique and they all have different powers, there's really no standard, if you will. There's no standard. Every killer has their own unique gimmick or power, but some gimmicks can give people trouble. My biggest weakness is Leatherface. Whenever I see Leatherface, I fucking die, man. I think he's my least frequently escaped killer. I can't fucking deal with him, and I don't know what it is. The reason I started playing Leatherface in the first place was because I got fucking destroyed by him. I literally 3 matches in a row. 3 Leatherfaces in a row just fucking demolished me, and I was like, why does everyone think this killer's bad? But here's the thing. Well, first of all, I think the only buffs I think Leatherface needs are emblem buffs to help him win the game better. But some people might think Leatherface needs buffs because I think the general consensus is that he's a low tier for reasons other than I described in my tier list. Because I think Leatherface is a fucking mid tier, but that's because I get my ass kicked by him. I have no other reasons for thinking that other than the fact that I get my ass kicked by that killer every time I fucking see him. I can't fucking deal with his chainsaw. I just can't deal with it. But that's Leatherface is kind of the bane of my existence in this game. So me personally, I am against any buffs for Leatherface that are not. I think he needs stuff to help him with his emblems. That's what I think he needs to be a mid tier. But I don't think that's a popular opinion amongst the community. I think he could use some add-on buffs, possibly, if you're gonna buff him. I think his power's fine. If you buff him, you buff his add-ons. But I argue he doesn't fucking need it, because I think he's better than people say he is. But I kind of getting off topic here, talking about Leatherface. But I guess the why I brought that up is that's my bane. But people that are just starting this game out, their bane is usually Doctor, and because they can't hide from him. That's their main tactic when people just start out. Watch my beginning survival gameplay. That's how I started too. You don't want to see the killer ever, and Doctor is the one who finds you the easiest. So yeah, casuals and new players don't particularly like him. But I think Tide Time on his tier list said that Doctor was probably never going to get any buffs because of how much the casuals destroy him. Well, is that valid? Like, should low tier killers not get buffs if they are destroyed, if they wreck casuals? Because that's their whole gimmick, is that they destroy the lower. If their most success rate is at ranks 20 through 15, should we be buffing? Should we be buffing them? I would argue yes, but that's because I am like a super hardcore competitive type of person. Like, if the community thinks we should definitely listen to everybody, but I think we should definitely factor people's skill into their opinions, honestly. Like, that's why I'm not completely, like, against Leatherface buffs, because I understand that I have a personal weakness for that killer. So, like, so that's why I'm not against buffing Leatherface, if that opportunity presented itself. Because I understand that it's my personal weakness. I am bad against him. And I think that's what the casuals need to realize, is that you are bad against Doctor, but Doctor himself is a character that could debatably use buffs. There are arguments for buffing Doctor. What do you do to him? Probably just make his madness go faster. That's probably the main buff he would need. If you buff Doctor, you just make him, because how many shocks does it take? I don't fucking know. You just make his base shock. You can make his base shock range a little bit bigger, and then you make it go faster. Those are like the two main buffs he could use. Because like the thing about him is once he's set up, he can be really annoying and really good. He's just another killer that you gotta set him. You gotta get him set up. Kind of like Myers, except not as good. Because when Myers is set up, his benefits are better. You could argue Myers is also not as pain in the ass to set up as Doctor, because Myers' setup condition is arguably easier. So it's a touchy subject, and I've already weighed in on it. That like Doctor is a killer I'm not against buffing, and I don't think anybody should be against buffing him. Like anybody that's not a high tier, I think is buff material, which is the exception of Nurse doesn't need buffs, Billy doesn't need buffs, Spirit doesn't need buffs, Myers doesn't need buffs, and Huntress doesn't need buffs. Those 5 killers are the only killers in this game that I can look at and say they're done. Everybody else, I think there's an argument that they can use something. People that play them can make the arguments that there's something that all of those characters could need to be better. In my opinion, that's like if you see my tier list, you know my order. But it's like, who do we balance games around? I think that's the question that we need to answer. And like obviously that depends on the game as well, because like I mean, you don't balance a game like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat over the people that don't play it often. You balance that amongst the people that play competitively for sure, because there's money on the line and shit, and like and just because like it's like a Joker thing. If Joker was a fucking casual crusher in Injustice 2, he was a casual crusher. Because his gimmick was just so damn good if you got to the corner. There's competitive players that had trouble with that gimmick. So like, if they were balancing among casuals, Joker would have been one of the first characters to get a nerf. And like, that's another issue I had with Smash Brothers. But in Smash 4, Little Mac and King Dedede, 2 garbage characters, had huge online win rates, and so they were both nerfed. And they were both really bad in the eyes of the competitive scene, which they were really bad. Little Mac and Dedede were both garbage in Smash 4's competitive scene. Both of those characters, already bad, got nerfed because of their high online win rates, because of the casuals who could not deal with them. And that is an awful way to balance the game, and it makes Smash Brothers look like a joke. Which honestly, Smash Brothers is a joke. The fucking game is garbage. It's garbage. It's garbage. And so that's how I kind of feel about. It's kind of the same thing. The good thing is none of the like Doctor hasn't received any nerfs, so it's not like that bad. Like those killers that are like in low tier haven't received any like nerfs or anything, so that's good. But like it's interesting because again, it makes me think of the Freddy situation, where Freddy was nerfed after the first week, when he probably wasn't broken and was probably only a high mid-tier, possibly a high tier. But like, was Freddy the best killer in the game? No, he wasn't. No way. And like, we had a week of You had a week to figure it out. And so, like, you don't really know. You don't know enough about pre-patch Freddy to know if he was a good killer or not. I mean, okay. I mean, it was obvious he was good, but like, everyone thought he was broken and it nerfed instantly. Do you think? And like, people like Tide Time were all like, slow down a little bit, get to know him a little bit, and like, no one listened. They kept bitching, and the character was nerfed. Debatably not worth it. So like, again, that's the question. Who was really asking for Freddy's nerf? Who was asking for it? The casuals or the people that play? And if Freddy was nerfed because the casuals went, oh bullshit, the number of hours people put in should be taken into consideration. Because if they're not good at something, the character is not the problem. Their level of skill is. And like, personal bad matchups can factor in. There's stuff that can factor into like if a character actually needs nerfed or not. Again, my bad matchup against Leatherface in this game, my bad matchup against Samus in Smash Brothers. I can't fight Samus, man. I can't do it. She's like the only zoner I have problems with because of Charge Shot. That's like why I have a hard time with her in Smash Brothers. But like, Samus doesn't need nerfed. I'm not gonna sit here and say Samus needs nerfed. It's just a bad matchup I have. I think the fact that people are more likely to blame a game than themselves is the problem, and why we don't see the necessary balance changes that happen. No matter where you think Doctor is on the tier list, whether you think Doctor is a low tier, of course, since there's some people that think he's broken in S tier. I still think he's mid, because I think his benefits are really nice once he gets up. Especially if you can off somebody early. If you can get somebody dead with like a Mori or something. It'll have a lot easier time. So, like, I think Doctor raises this question. I think Plague raises this question. I think Pig raises the question. I'm sure I'm not the only person that has a bad matchup against Leatherface. Like, a lot of characters people say are bad. I haven't seen people still say Freddy is not as bad as people say he is. But, and like, you know, as somebody who's played Freddy more, I understand. I actually really like Freddy's character design. I understand why it's bad and understand why it's not good, but like, the aura seeing thing in the dream world I actually do like. But it's just a thing I'm throwing out there with this. So this fucking guy right here, man, wouldn't fucking dumbass hatch standoff. I need to record another Doctor match with the endgame collapse. I've been mostly playing Survivor as of late. It's just kind of been my mood. But I was thinking about Doctor, and that's what sparked this whole video. And if Doctor needs buffs or nerfs, so just, I don't know, talk to me, I guess. Someone have a conversation with me about this game. I think the problem, I think about it too much because I'm lonely. And I don't ever have anybody to talk to about this game, realistically. So feel free to drop a comment about Doctor in the comment section. What's your opinion on him? I think he's the character that sparks this debate, like, in the modern Dead by Daylight setting more than any other killer does. So, he was the one that made me think of the idea to do this. And ask the question, just like, what do you think of Doctor, and where do you think the, general balancing of the game, should we be balancing it around the majority of the casual players, or we should be balancing it around the rank 1 people that actually play more often and know what they're doing more than the people that don't? It's just, that's the kind of question I have. You know where I stand that we should balance it more towards the people that understand how to play. I think we should factor in casual opinions, but like, they should have a less of a voice than the people that play more, because they're not the loyal player base for one, and they have a lack of knowledge that the people do at higher ranks. So I'm not against any buffs for anybody that is not top 5. All the top 5 characters are fine. They don't need buffs. Everybody else, I'm open to buffing. But like, again, what's your suggestions, mate? Let me know.